Hello everybody and welcome to another Scream Queens review. Today it is Season 1, Episode 8, called Mommie Dearest. And yes, there were a lot of mommy issues in this episode, which surprisingly I thought started very well and actually became pretty uneventful in the second half of the episode, which is kind of strange. So I'll go through what I thought were some of the highlights of this so-so episode, I would say. We get a very solid opening scene, which has a Psycho reference, which anyone who knows the history behind that movie and who parodied the scene, our friend the Dean, this was pretty amusing stuff. We also then found out that there are at least 3 killers, I believe, and we also found out that our friend, Miss Jamie Lee Curtis, the Dean, can really handle herself. This was a very good opening scene, probably my favorite of the show so far. And the momentum kept on going pretty well as the Dean finally gave in and gave Grace some info. And this would not be a good episode for Grace overall. I'll just say it that way. We also have some stuff with Denise today as she's back. She wasn't seen in our last episode, I believe. And she's still trying to pin the killings on Miss Zayday. And she goes to one of our friends, one of our sorority sisters, Jennifer, for some information. And this leads to a confrontation between Zayday, Denise, and Jennifer, where Zayday warns them to leave her alone. And this leads to a scene where we have to say goodbye to our friend Jennifer. And at least I will say that the little bit of her memorial that we got to see was pretty interesting. And nice song choice as well, by the way, back there. And then we get some more Grace stuff. There was a lot of that in this episode. And she finds out, along with her friend Pete, some information about Gigi that we kind of already knew. And when she confronts Gigi about it, Gigi does a very good job of turning it around on her. This leads to a scene where Grace finds out some stuff from her dad about Gigi and Wes being engaged. And a lot of these scenes just seemed a little slow, and this is where the episode really slows down, so I thought this episode was very oddly paced. So Grace and her father have a few talks in the second half of the episode, which I didn't think really worked all that well, honestly. We just don't really learn too much about anything. We learn little tidbits of information, but not a whole lot that really moves the plot forward other than what we already knew. This just feels like a lot of exposition. We also get some more scenes with Denise and Chanel who have a confrontation. We get another scene with Grace and her dad. And it just seemed like in the second half of this episode not a whole lot happened, whereas the first half was action-packed. Very odd. We did get a very good last scene which saves the episode. Let's just say we see a character we haven't seen for a while, and it does set up to next week very nicely. But all in all, this episode really feels like a holdover just because they had an episode to fill. There were some great moments, mostly in the first half, but overall this episode was just kind of average, and the music that was used was great, but there wasn't a whole lot of it tonight. Where was my 80s and 90s soundtrack that I like so much? So overall, just an okay episode, which I would rate a 2.5 out of 5, right down the middle. I'm hoping the show is building to something great, but these last few weeks have been a little bit slower paced, but at least last week we had, in my opinion, a great Dean backstory to carry us, which we really didn't have today. So 2.5 out of 5 for this episode. Mommie Dearest, as always, you guys can tell me how you felt about the episode in the comments if you'd like. Thanks for watching.